Hokage, Invincible Opening, Fury Konoha. Like, share, and subscribe. Episode 71. Protest, Severe Punishment. Immortal Body, plus, Eternal Kaleidoscope Sharingan. Natsume reckoned that his overall strength was already at the upper middle level of the Super Kage class. Even compared with Hashirama and Madara at their peak, it shouldn't be too far behind. Of course, it really has to be compared with those two wall hangings who had a wealth of actual combat experience and superb dancing skills during the Warring States period. There are bound to be many gaps. Even with the same strength, Natsume, who is only 10 years old, is probably no match for those two. This is not about increasing the ambitions of others and destroying one's own prestige. It's just telling the truth. Only when you realize your own shortcomings. Only in this way can we better make up for our shortcomings and improve ourselves. However, in general, with my current strength, it is basically more than enough to traverse the entire ninja world. Next. It's also time to settle down and get acquainted with it. The strength has been soaring recently. But, before precipitation, I finally made a fuss with Konoha. Let the Shao organization and the other hidden villages bear so many scapegoats. No matter what, let these attacks play some role. The ninja world in this period is still too peaceful. And if his own hidden village wants to rise, the only way to disturb the entire ninja world is to disturb this pool of water, in order to ride the wind and take advantage of the situation to benefit. Come to think of it, Konoha is definitely burning with anger now, right? He was only short of his own finishing touch, and it was time for a full-scale eruption. As for the last kick, I guess it's time to reach Konoha. As Natsume expected. The current Konoha situation is indeed not optimistic. A large number of protesting villagers gathered in front of the Hokage office building. Demand to find out the truth and severely punish the mastermind behind the orphanage. For a while, the pressure on Konoha's senior management doubled. Originally, if it was just a thunderstorm in the orphanage, the impact would not have been so great. But in addition, the tragic death of the consultant, the theft of the treasury, the invasion of tailed beasts, and they all hit the gate of their own village. Wait for a series of shocking changes. It directly made most of Konoha's heartstrings tense and panicked. I am afraid that when the war will break out again. Moreover, once there is a war, there will inevitably be dead people, and there will inevitably be more orphans. Seeing Konoha like this now, the orphanage has become a devil's den, who dares to fight desperately on the battlefield. Aren't you afraid that your son will also be sent to the devil's den? The heirs of those big ninja families are fine. After their parents die in battle, the orphans can be raised by the family. But most commoner ninjas, how can they be treated like this? Once he died, his son and daughter would have to be sent to the orphanage, and then let others bully. Didn't you see the famous 4th Hokage Minato? Are all the sons pushed out like that now? Therefore, in the eyes of many civilian ninjas, find out the truth and punish the Black Hand. Naturally, it has become the primary goal. Otherwise, they wouldn't even feel at ease fighting a war. In this regard, many ninja clans have also maintained a wait-and-see attitude. After all, in recent years, the expansion of Konoha Anbi and roots, and the suppression of many ninja families are really too much. The division and tragedy of the Uchiha clan is a lesson from the past. Therefore, these big families don't mind taking the opportunity to force Konoha's senior management to put some pressure on them. Now, inside Naruto's office, the aged Sarutobi, the 3rd Hokage, was standing in front of the window, looking down at the large crowd of protesting ninjas who were passionately protesting below, and listening to the tedious accusations and curses. How many people are there? Sarutobi frowned, and asked, sadly. This is the first time such a large-scale protest has occurred since he took over the position of Hokage for so many years. There are already more than 700 people. An Umbu member quickly replied. Master Hokage, do you need to take action to disperse these people? Sarutobi shook his head. No. Their demands are reasonable. Regarding the orphanage issue, they should indeed be given a reasonable explanation. Moreover, this issue also involves the root and the dark side. Asking you to come forward will only exacerbate the conflict. Sarutobi still has the basic ability to judge whether or not violent expulsion was not adopted to deal with these protesting villagers, so as not to spawn a bigger riot. In short, the current Konoha is like a powder keg. Can't resist any stimulation anymore. Master Hokage, what about us? Hey. Sarutobi sighed and ordered. Let Hokage assistant come over. Obey. The Umbu ninja immediately retreated to invite a certain Danzo-sama. Obviously, After the thunderstorm in the orphanage, Sarutobi knew it immediately. The black hand behind it must be Danzo. He is the only one who has the ability, the opportunity, and the cruelty to do such a cruel thing. If it was in the past, a small punishment and a big reprimand would be fine. But this time, the impact of the orphanage problem is too great. Already annoyed the public outrage. The anger of so many people cannot be calmed down simply. So, Sarutobi was struggling just now. But now it seems that in order to quell public anger, Danzo and Genba must be severely punished. Soon. Danzo, who was in a wheelchair, was pushed into Hokage's office. Then, the rest of the guards withdrew one after another and closed the door voluntarily. In just a moment, the familiar voice of arguing came from the office again. Danzo. // The dispute lasted for nearly 10 minutes before it was finally over. Moreover, compared to the past. This time, Sarutobi was obviously more angry. If it weren't for watching Danzo's legs being crippled and his injuries hadn't healed. He wanted to hit Danzo violently. You know, Danzo and his roots have indeed dealt with a lot of darkness for the village before, and they have taken a lot of scapegoats. But what about the recent ones? It was he who forced the Uchiha clan to rebel. He was also the one who buried dozens of rude elite ninjas. It was he who even secretly eroded the orphanage and caused this massive protest. Even now, Sarutobi can no longer protect him. Danzo. This incident is too big, and I can no longer indulge you. From now on, you are officially relieved of your position as Assistant Hokage. But, Sanjan, Danzo was shocked, suddenly, very unwilling, and immediately wanted to defend himself. But this time, Sarutobi was very decisive. Directly scolded. Stop making excuses. It's for your own good too. In addition, stop those inhuman training at the root. At the same time, without my order, the root is not allowed to participate in any actions. I will be responsible for appeasing the people and rebuilding the orphanage. The disposal of you will be officially issued to the whole village in the future. Until then, you'll be home too. Okay, it's good to reflect on what you have done. Sarutobi is still Hokage. Danzo, who is the assistant of Hokage, has almost absolute control. One sentence, a few government orders, can directly deprive Danzo of most of his real power. After all, Sarutobi knew very well. There is no punishment that is more painful to Danzo than the deprivation of actual power. Foreseeable. After losing the position of Assistant Naruto and the actual command of Root, Danzo will be like a crossbow without arrows for a long time, and it will be difficult to make trouble. But although this punishment is heavy, it is also for Danzo's sake. Otherwise, the hundreds of angry protesters outside might tear Danzo apart. Last night, Sarutobi had already lost Xiaochun, and he really didn't want to lose another old comrade in arms. Episode 72. Fan the flames, the war will start. After hearing how Sarutobi punished him severely, Danzo's face was almost green with anger. He has always been ambitious, eager to ascend to the position of Hokage. The most unacceptable thing is the loss of power in your hands. That's his lifeblood. But, still that sentence. One day when Sarutobi was around, he could only accept it passively. It is absolutely impossible to push Sarutobi down and sit on the opponent. To attack is to attack, and to accept is to accept. Can't be changed. But it is even more impossible for him to accept the punishment and voluntarily give up all his powers. I haven't become Hokage yet, and I haven't killed Natsume, that kid, to get revenge. How could he let go? However, looking at the way it is today, it seems that Rinnegan is determined to mess with himself. Just relying on the mouth, I'm afraid it won't work. We need to take some real action. Afterwards, Danzo gritted his teeth and made a decision. I know who the enemy who attacked the village last night is. As soon as Danzo opened his mouth, he immediately attracted Sarutobi's attention. From the point of view of the whole village, it is really important to quell the anger of protesting villagers. It is even more important to find out the identity of the attacker last night and prevent the village from being attacked again. After all, the former is likely to cause chaos in the village. But the latter, it is possible to overthrow the entire village. It is self-evident which is more important. Therefore, Sarutobi, who is Hokage, wants to know the true identity of the attacker more urgently than anyone else. It's Hidden Rock Village. Yanin Village? Is there any evidence? Sarutobi exclaimed, frowning in doubt. Without evidence, he would not believe it rashly. Danzo moved the buttocks on the wheelchair, pulled out a scroll from under his body, and handed it to Sarutomo. Sarutobi recognized it at a glance. Such a small encrypted scroll must be used to convey top-secret information at the root. There are complicated ninjutsu restrictions on it, and only those who know the decryption method can safely interpret it. If it is disassembled violently, it will only be destroyed together with the top-secret information inside. It can be regarded as one of the most effective and reliable ways to transmit confidential information in the ninja world. The secret access has already been opened once, and there is no need to unlock it again. Sarutobi directly opened the secret access and read it. Soon, when he saw the news clearly, his expression changed, and he was suddenly shocked. This is the news that a spy I planted in Rinnegan village risked his life to send back. What is recorded above is the information that Rinnegan village is planning to take the opportunity to launch a surprise attack on our village. The secret access just arrived in my hands early this morning, and it is intact. No one knows the decryption method except me. It basically eliminates the possibility of false news. Danzo explained calmly. In fact, this secret access was prepared by Do. Back then, after learning about the conspiracy of Rinnegan village, he immediately sealed the secret scroll and prepared to send it to Konoha. In the end, Natsume was saved. And this unopened secret scroll naturally fell into Natsume's hands. It wasn't until the day before yesterday that Natsume used Orochimaru's hand to quietly send the secret scroll back to Danzo. Therefore, in Danzo's view, this is clearly Orochimaru's cooperation with him, getting rid of Do and Nanoyu for him, and bringing back the secret scroll. Therefore, after seeing this information, Danzo almost died of anger. Because, in his eyes, it's this group of naughty rock ninjas who ruined their own good deeds. Otherwise, I would have ambushed those Uchiha traitors last night and wiped them all out. But now, not only did he not get the benefits, but he licked his shit instead. He lost more than half of his roots. How is he not angry? After getting the explanation, Sarutobi was also silent. And looked at Danzo, with a serious expression, staring at him. After a while, he looked away. He admitted that Danzo does have a lot of minor problems. However, he never deceived himself when it came to the safety of the village. Like himself, he loves the village. Otherwise, for so many years. It is also impossible for Sarutobi to appoint Danzo as the Hokage assistant and give him such great power just because of his status as an old acquaintance. What's more, unless Danzon's brain is caught by the door, he would not hesitate to take the lives of more than 50 rude elites to forge such a fake news. It's not worth it. Not worth it. Therefore, this news should be true. And the information on this secret scroll, plus the attack that happened last night. From this point of view, there is almost a 98% possibility that Rinnegan village is the real culprit. In addition, according to the rumors, Rinnegan village and Shao organization also seem to have a relationship of mutual use. Although it can't be confirmed yet. But with many details look. Who the real culprit is indeed a certainty. Read this. Sarutobi frowned even more, angry from the heart. 8 years ago, the Third Ninja World War, the Battle of Konoha. Konoha had already formed a deadly feud with Rinnegan, and his excellent disciple, great-grandson Obito, also died in that battle. Unexpectedly, so many years have passed. My family didn't bother looking for Rinnegan, but they didn't know what to do and shot Konoha first. Damn it. Yuan Fei really can't wait to mobilize his troops and gather generals to kill Rinnegan village and take revenge. But it was hard to be peaceful for so long. He really didn't want to drag the village into the quagmire of war again. No one understands the cruelty and bloodiness of war better than him. However, just when Sarutobi hesitated, Danzo suddenly yelled loudly. Rinnegan, do you want to endure this time? Do you want to be cowardly? They have already hit the gate of the village. Next time, maybe that tail beast Jade should explode in the village. What are you still hesitating about? Do you want to see Konoha perish? Obviously, Danzo is instigating and motivating Sarutobi. It's for the village, but also for his power. After all, fight together. One's own roots will inevitably be useful, and one will not lose power. Even, it is not impossible to ascend to the position of Hokage through a big battle. Danzo's scolding really pushed Sarutobi. He made a cruel decision. This is also the first time in his life that he made a crazy decision to take the initiative. Of course, the main reason is that Rinnegan is too much. They all brought the tailed beasts to their door. If he endured it any longer, Konoha might be gone. No matter how good-tempered a person is, he can't stand being ridden on his head to shit and pee. In order to win a sigh of relief, to ensure the prestige of the village, and for future peace, We have to take the initiative to attack and hit a wave. Otherwise, just the anger of the villagers at the moment can't be diverted. Send people, spread the news, let Jiraiya come back quickly. Tomorrow, I will personally go to Sha'in village to discuss the matter of forming an alliance. When I come back, send troops to Yenin village immediately. Since they want to fight. Then let's have another ninja war. Sarutobi gritted his teeth and said decisively. Episode 73. Undercurrent Surge. The successive shocking changes really forced Konoha to make a change. It was noon that day. The third Hokage, Sarutobi, came forward in person. A series of important speeches were delivered and a subsidy was given to all protesters. Only then did the anger of the people be extinguished, and many protesters gathered in front of the Hokage building were sent home. Meanwhile, early the next morning, Konoha, Administrative Department, and Hokage Office issued a new announcement, giving a detailed explanation of the thunderstorm incident in Orphanage. And severely punished the Deputy Commander Genbu, the chief envoy behind it. At the same time, Danzo, the assistant of Naruto, who was not strict with the imperial government, also took the blame and resigned for it, and was ordered to stay at home. Moreover, the construction agenda of the new orphanage was quickly approved, and all villagers were allowed to monitor together to prevent similar things from happening again. Of course, anyone with a discerning eye can see it. The so-called deputy commander at the root of the main envoy was just pushed out to take the blame. After all, even Danzo, who is in naked shadow, can't bear this cauldron. Whoever carries it dies. However, throughout the process, the protesters were compensated and a new orphanage was rebuilt. The ninjas who watched were happy to see the roots suffer, and took the opportunity to suppress a wave of high-level leaders. Konoha executives also quelled public anger, reflecting fairness and justice, and gained a small wave of popularity. All parties got what they wanted. No one will go too far to investigate who is the real Black Hand. What kind of punishment did you get? Of course, from the day. Compared with the villagers at the lower level, the middle and upper levels of Konoha also started to get busy. A series of government orders were conveyed from the Hokage office. Distribute death benefits, raise funds for war preparations, prepare logistics items, recall ninjas who are on missions outside, rearrange outposts outside the village, and so on. The entire Konoha is like a huge war machine that has started to work. In essence, this so-called hidden village is a weapon of war for every big country. It's just that under the dedication and construction of generations of ninjas, it has become more like a village. Especially the defense outside the village. Sarutobi dispatched almost half of the remaining Umbu ninjas in his hands. One warning line after another was pulled up outside the village. In short, there must be no more scandals like last night. Everyone with tailed beasts rushed to their door. They couldn't find it in time. If it happens again, that tail beast Jade should also fall in the village. Therefore, similar omissions must be made up immediately. Focus on strengthening the defense. Soon, government orders were issued one after another, and the whole Konoha began to operate. Sarutobi also quickly put aside the government affairs in his hands. With only 2 guards, he left the village secretly. I rushed to Kingdom of Wind, Sand Hidden Village. It is already his policy to start a war with Yenin village, and it must be fought. But Sarutobi didn't even think about it, and went to war recklessly. You know, during the previous ninja wars, it is often the outer village that suddenly launches an attack, and Konoha is forced to fight, flustered, loss of doping. This time, in order to win, in order not to drag the village into the quagmire of war for too long, Sarutobi naturally needs to prepare well. Forming an alliance is one of the strategies. After all, once the war starts, whether the situation is favorable or unfavorable, allies are still useful. Even if you may not be able to send troops to help, you can still bluff people. Add some momentum. Look at the newly built Yenin village, which is an alliance with Wuin village. Now he is famous in the whole ninja world. It made it difficult for my family to take action against Yenin village. And this time, if Konoha and Sandine can form an alliance, at least, when they beat Yenin village, they won't have too many worries. Of course, the reason for not choosing Yunin to form an alliance. One reason, because Yunin village is farther away, it is inconvenient to cooperate. Second, it was Yunin's traitor, Jinkaku Yinkaku, who killed Sarutobi's respected and beloved second-generation Hokage Toikuma-sama. Therefore, be sensible. Sarutobi didn't even want to form an alliance with Yunin. Only. Considering the murderous feud between Konoha and the old Chidai mother-in-law of Sand Hermit, this journey of alliance will definitely not be too easy. Fortunately, it is the 4th Kazekage, not Chio, who is in power in Sand Hidden Village. Therefore, everything still has a chance. The backup treasury was stolen, the high-level consultant died, and the tail beast attacked outside the village. All these major events were subtly hidden under Konoha's layers of blockade. Although there have been many rumors, at least most of the villagers and ordinary ninjas don't know the truth. It's just that such important information, coupled with the undercurrents in the village in the past 2 days. It is almost impossible to hide some ninja clans. The most famous ones are the Hyuga clan, the Inakacho clan, the Aorome clan, and the Inazuka clan. And the excluded Uchiha clanek. They already clearly smelled the imminent war. They also quietly got ready. The ninja family that has been passed down from the Warring States period to the present is not too simple. Of course, the decline of the Senju clan, Uchiha clan, etc. is the result of many factors and coincidences. At the same time, the residence of the Uchiha clan, in the mansion of the great patriarch Uchiha Fugaku, is also chatting with Uchiha 8th generation secret. Yatsushiro, was it the boy Natsume who did the tail beast attack the night before? Back to the patriarch, I don't know. You don't know either? Yes. Master Natsume never disclosed any relevant information to me. He just let me bring you the news. Yashiro shook his head and answered truthfully. Fuyua nodded and didn't delve into it further. He just smiled and sighed. That boy, you are indeed cautious enough. But, this time it's a big mess. All the tailed beasts have been dispatched, which Dayan village has also been dragged into the water. Looking at this, the village is also scared. Soon, I'm afraid there will be another war. For war. Fuyue, Yatsushiro, or all Uchiha people are not afraid. After all, compared to being watched, discriminated against, and hostile in the village, they are all more willing to shed their heads and blood on the battlefield. At the very least, even if you die in battle, you can still get an honor. It was much better than being secretly executed by Konoha. Moreover, it was precisely because of the order of the high level that their family did not participate in the Battle of the Nine-Tails Night, and was rejected and hostile by many villagers. If there is a real war, Great Patriarch, what about us? Yashiro asked in a low voice. To be honest, most of the clansmen don't like Konoha anymore. Therefore, he really didn't want to fight for Konoha anymore. Fuyu frowned slightly, and also hesitated. To be honest, after that night, after seeing the ruthlessness and cold-bloodedness of Konoha's high-level officials towards the Uchiha clan, he also lost the last trace of goodwill towards the village. Otherwise, this time, they wouldn't cooperate with Natsume's actions and send out the 5 bait clansmen. However, just when Fuyu was about to agree cruelly, he would never contribute to Konoha again. Boom, boom, D.D. There was a knock on the door. A certain filial son Itachi pushed the door open and entered. Seeing this, Yatsushiro immediately kept silent, and showed a very nuclear smile to Itachi. After all, there is no whistleblower from this big dutiful son. The previous actions had no chance of success. It is even more impossible to wipe out the root elites in one wave and directly break the root's spine. Such a great hero is naturally worthy of praise. It's Itachi. What's the matter? Fuyu asked with a stern face, still looking fierce. Itachi took a few steps forward and glanced at Yashiro, as if he had forgotten the great achievement he had made. Holding a secret scroll directly, he handed it to Fuyu. Father, this is a secret decree issued by Master Hokage to you. Oh? Sure enough, it's still here. Fuyu took the secret axis, squinted his eyes, and said with emotion. Without looking, he can guess the general content of the secret order. Episode 74. Miss Hinata's Troubles. The content of this volume of secret orders is very simple. Request Fuyue to start preparing the remaining ninjas in the Uchiha clan from now on. Then, within the specified time, rush to Yenin village, established by Uchiha rebel ninja, and block Yenin village. Be sure to kill more than 20 Uchiha rebels and bring back their corpses. If not, the tone and requirements of the secret order are extremely strict, which is completely different from the usual style of the 3rd Hokage Sarutobi. Visible, this second rate. The death of Xiaochun and the attack of the enemy village tail beast made him really angry. For this reason, this secret order was specially issued. It is to use the remaining power of the Uchiha clan to stop the action of Yenin village during the battle between Konoha and Yenin. In case, when the time comes to fight, that kid Natsume directly stole Konoha from his house. Moreover, the hard target of at least 20 corpses is also Sarutobi's spur to Fuyu and others. With this indicator in place, it is not afraid that they and Rinnegan village will not be able to fight the real anger. Otherwise, don't blame Konoha for being cruel to the remaining Uchiha people in the village. Fuyu put away the secret order, his expression remained the same. It seems to have been expected long ago. Instead, he looked at Itachi calmly and asked. Itachi, you know about the battle outside the village the night before, right? It's all known. This time, I used you. I know. Itachi replied calmly. Fuyu was slightly startled, huh? Did you tell the higher-ups on purpose? Yes. However, this should not be what you mean, father. Do you know who it is? Itachi glanced at Yashiro on the left, but didn't answer. But it goes without saying. Fuyu frowned and asked. Then shouldn't you go snitch again? Do not. Why? I was going to try it out and give Root another chance. Let's see who's better. The results of it? The Roots are ruined. And then? I want to choose again. Have you made a choice? Not yet. The riddle dialogue between Fugaku and Itachi made the Yatsushiro beside him more and more confused. However, the rules are not complicated. In short, Itachi wanted to pass the calculation and anti-calculation of the night before, and try again. After all, it is the Root, it is Master Danzo who is powerful. Or his Natsume cousin is even better. The result? Naturally, Natsume won the hemp. Even directly abolished most of the Roots. In this way, the Root that was on the shoulders of the Uchiha clan and on his own head has withered. Then Itachi, naturally, it is time to choose again. The choice is to continue to die for the village, or choose to return to the family position. In fact, from the point of view of the tribe. In order to save his younger brother and save Konoha, Itachi decided to swing the butcher's knife at the tribe. Really hateful. Really hateful. It's nothing to wash away. But, people are complex. No one is black and white. Another person stood in Itachi's position, also sandwiched between the family and the village, and also threatened by the Roots and Danzo. It may not be able to do better. Of course, part of the reason is because of himself. After all, as Itachi himself said, he had just opened the Kaleidoscopic Sharingan at that time. It is true that under the influence of Sharingan, I have become arrogant, thinking that I can solve everything by myself, and let my emotions influence my rational judgment. This led to tragedy. But now, after seeing the strength of his father and cousin Natsume, and seeing another solution, he also gradually gave up his original obsession. Simply put, it was hit. After all, even if he still obeys Danzo's order at this moment, slaughter all the remaining clansmen. It can't affect it, Rinnegan village, and Natsume and others outside. Not to mention, orphanage only exposed the crime, and it also made Itachi's impression of the Root drop significantly. He couldn't imagine that if he slaughtered the clansman himself, Sasuke would be left alone. In the end, Sasuke was also controlled and eroded by the devil's claws at the Root. That would be terrible. Obviously, after experiencing this series of changes, the choice between the village and the family, Itachi also began to waver. After some heart-to-heart, there was also a rare silence between these two loving fathers and filial sons. After several minutes of silence, Fuyu spoke again. Itachi, take a break. Then, get ready and follow me to attack Rinnegan village. Go and kill those clansmen who betrayed the village. Let's also go and see how the Rinnegan village established by your cousin Natsume. After that, let's decide. Fuyu did not force Itachi. Instead, once again handed over the choice to Itachi. Of course, the premise is to go to Rinnegan village first. Obey. Thank you, father. Itachi knelt down and thanked him. Then he got up and left without staying. At the same time, the Hyuga soak. In the spacious training dojo, a petite and lovely figure was practicing soft fist alone. And next to Hinata, who is the head of the main family, was chatting with his father while watching Hinata's training. Rizu said quietly. There is going to be a war. Yes. This time, Hokage-sama is very decisive. Maybe it's because of the advisor's reassignment to Koharu-sama's death. Hush. There are some things, even if you know it, don't say it. Hinata nodded and immediately changed the subject. The night before, we killed 4 members of our tribe. What about the remains? Only one was recovered. One was over at the orphanage, where there were too many charred corpses to distinguish. The other 2 were turned into dust under the tail beast Jade. Be careful, don't let Bai Yan get lost again. Hyuga Hyuzu, the cage for 4 people Zhongyao curse seal, contact has disappeared. Definitely doomed. Hey. Fortunately, they are all separated ninjas. In short, if there is another war in the future, you can pay attention. We must not let Kirigakure win the eyes of our family by chance like last time. Rizu, when it's time to be cruel, don't hesitate. Hinata, understood. At this time, in the center of the dojo, Hinata failed to grasp the flow of chakra, and accidentally lost his balance and fell to the ground. Boom d. The pain from the buttocks made Hinata, who was only 7 years old, have a sore nose, moist eyes, and almost cried directly. But looking at the majestic father and grandfather, she still endured the pain and stood up quickly. To be honest, her physical talent is very ordinary. I have always been less interested in gymnastics training. After all, apart from being the eldest lady of the Zong family, she is just an ordinary girl next door who is ordinary in every way. Although cute. Therefore, she has always been somewhat resistant to the harsh training courses of the Zong family. At this moment, looking at the mistakes of his eldest daughter Hinata, Hyuga Hidezu sighed in his heart and continued to be stern, scolding. Continue to practice. Practicing alone makes little progress. Hizuru, find someone to practice with Hinata. Also. Hinata Hidetsu nodded and stepped out of the dojo. And soon brought back another boy who was slightly older than Hinata, Ningji Hyuga. Episode 75. Instigate rebellion, instigate rebellion. Ning Ci lowered his head and followed the patriarch Hinata into the dojo. Let's start sparring. Yes. Ning Ci responded respectfully, and then compared gestures. He looked at the cousin Hinata in front. Suppress the resentment in my heart as much as possible and prevent it from showing. Brother Ningxi, please forgive me. Hinata on the opposite side was a little embarrassed, and quickly responded politely. Soon, the two practiced against each other. For thousands of years, the Hyuga clan has followed the eldest son inheritance system. Hinata Hinzai and Hinata are twins. Just because they were born a little bit behind each other, Hinata became a separated family, and they will never be able to stand up again. But here comes Hinata. Hinata Hyuzu wanted to abandon the old and establish the young more than once. I want Hinata's younger sister, Hanabi, to succeed the main family. Why do you think he wants to abolish the elders and establish the younger ones? Why go against the teachings of the ancestors? It can't be because Hinata's talent is too good, right? Therefore, it is enough to see how bad Hinata's talent is in his father's eyes. There is a joke that is very realistic. It is about the geniuses in Naruto, which can be roughly divided into these types. Sasuke, Fireball. Fuyue, as expected of my son, read it once and practice hard. Itachi, Fireball. Fuyue, as expected of my son. Just read it once and it will be straight away. Ning Ci, gossip back to heaven. Rizu, huh? Who taught him? Of course, it doesn't mean that Niji's talent must be better than Itachi's. Just proved it. As a member of the separated family, under the condition of restricted white eyes, they are almost in a state of stalking. Ning Ci learned Bagua 64 palms without a teacher when he was less than 13 years old. As the patriarch of the clan, Hinata enjoys the best resources and the most superior guidance. During the Fourth World War, relying on Naruto's stimulation and Niji's stream, and after a great deal of paving the way, she finally hit 64 palms and didn't kill a mob. The talent gap between the two sides can be seen in general. Therefore, in more than 10 duels, Niji defeated Hinata very easily. He even deliberately kept most of his strength so as not to really hurt the eldest lady of the clan. Before I knew it, an hour passed. Finally, Niji got bored. He really didn't want to continue to spend his precious training time to play house with Miss Hinata. Hey D.D. Brother Ning Ci? Master Patriarch. It shouldn't be a problem for someone else to be your training partner, right? Please allow me to do my own training. After all, since his father died 4 years ago, only heavy training can calm his heart a little, so that he no longer hates the difference between the main family and the branch family too much. No, it's not over yet. Continue. Hyuga Hyuzu clasped his hands and responded coldly. Please, Brother Niji. Hinata hurriedly asked. She is kind, and she doesn't want to see Brother Ning Ci continue to argue with his father. *DD. Ning Ci snorted secretly, and the dissatisfaction accumulated in his heart for a long time also quietly rose. I see. In the next round. Ning Xiai interrupted Hinata's attack with a light palm and repelled it. And couldn't help but sarcastically said. What's wrong with you? Master Hinata, this is not a game. At the same time, they took the initiative to launch an attack. With a few moves, Hinata's defense was broken. Obviously only this ability, the fate of the Hinata clan. Can you bear it? Neji got angry. While scolding angrily, he intensified the offensive. Soon, he hit Hinata hard on the shoulder and jaw, knocking him to the ground. Without any intention of stopping, he continued to wave his palms. Only. Just when Ning Xi's last palm was about to hit Hinata, Hinata, the head of the main family, intervened in an instant. He pinched Ning Xi's palm in one hand, easily flipped it out, and smashed it to the ground. Then, without hesitation, he activated the caged bird curse seal. Next moment, Ning Xiai, who was on the ground, covered his head in an instant, his eyes trembled, color distorted, struggling and screaming in extreme pain. Ah! Head, my head! In severe pain, Ning Xiai tore off the turban on his forehead, revealing the pattern of the curse seal that was glowing blue. Under the erosion of the curse mark of the bird in the cage. At this moment, it was as if countless ants were gnawing on his head, the pain was unbearable. That kind of pain cannot be resisted or endured by human will at all. Otherwise, with so many generations of ninjas, they wouldn't have been under the control of the clan forever. That's it, just for a moment. The severe pain gradually swallowed Nisai's consciousness, making him unconscious. Hinata, who was hiding behind her father, looked terrified and at a loss. Madness! Hinata scolded angrily. Then said. Today's training is suspended. Hinata, go down and get acquainted. Yes. Hinata nodded timidly. But, father, brother Ningxi? You don't have to pay attention. Come on. Just move him back, he won't die. Soon, several clansmen walked into the dojo and moved the unconscious Ning Xiai out of the clan mansion. When Ning Xiai woke up, it was already 10 o'clock at night. He was the only one in Nuada's mansion. 4 years ago, his father was forced to die for the head family. Not long after that, my mother also left heartbroken. Only Neji was left guarding the entire mansion. That's why he trained desperately, trying to numb the pain in his heart through training. At the same time, he tried his best to hide the resentment and dissatisfaction towards the Zone family in his heart. Just didn't expect it. Today I couldn't bear it a little bit, and hit Hinata a little harder. He was severely punished by the clan. Until now, my brain, which has been eroded by the curse mark, is still in pain. Damn. You have to be more careful in the future. Ning Xiai gritted his teeth and murmured. Struggling to stand up, I was going to the kitchen to eat something so that my body would not be hollowed out. But before he took 2 steps, the pain in his mind made him stumble, and he fell to the ground, swaying. Cage bird curse seal is so ruthless, it can be seen in general. And at this moment, behind Ning Xiai, a voice suddenly sounded. What a mess. Who? Ning Xiai was startled, got up quickly, and stood up on guard. What? Neji, don't you remember me? A masked figure gradually walked out of the dark courtyard and came to Ning Xiai. Who are you? Brother Fugaku? Hearing this familiar voice, Ning Xiai suddenly realized the identity of the person who came. Although, he is not too familiar with this brother Shinchuan. However, as separated ninjas who are also controlled by the clan's curse, it is inevitable that they feel pity for each other. Moreover, during the 2 years when my father just passed away, this brother Shinchuan also took care of himself several times. However, after he joined Anbu in the past 2 years, his contact has become less and less. Often for several months, I would not return to Hinata's house once. To be honest, Ning Xiai was a little envious. At least after joining Anbu, he can be separated from the family to a large extent. There is no need to worry too much about the curse mark on his forehead. Originally, if possible, after he passed the Chunin assessment, Neji was also planning to join Anbu for a try. Brother Shinchuan, why are you here? Wait, are you still alive? They all said that you died in the commotion the night before. Ning Xiai lowered his voice and said in astonishment. Smart, he also guessed that brother Shinchuan would come to him at this time, it must not be easy. Hyuga Fugaku smiled faintly, and responded. Yes, I am indeed dead. At least, in the eyes of the Hyuga family. That Hyuga Fugaku is definitely dead. Neji? Hyuga Fugaku did not answer directly, but asked sharply. Ning Xiai, is this the first time you have been punished by the sect with a bird in a cage? The 4th time. It's painful, isn't it? Ning Xiai looked at brother Fugaku in front of him, hesitated for a moment, and said frankly. Yes, it's painful. Very unwilling? Very resentful? Yes. Very unwilling. Want to change all this? Ning Xiai laughed bitterly. I want to. I want to dream. But I can only think about it. If there is a chance to lift this seal, Niji, what are you willing to give? Hyuga Fugaku continued to bewitch. It seems that he has already learned some essence from that Natsume-sama. Everything, my everything. Ning Xiai gritted his teeth. The death of his father, the humbleness of being a family ninja, and the pain of today all filled him with resentment. If you can really lift the cursed seal and change your own destiny, he really is willing to do whatever it takes. Unfortunately, he knew that this was just wishful thinking. Hearing this, Hyuga Fugaku couldn't help but smile slightly after getting the desired response. Ning Xiai, there is a chance. Look at me. Saying that, Fugaku took off his mask, revealing that smooth forehead. See this scene. Ning Xiai was shocked even more, and he held his breath, eyes full of disbelief. Episode 76. Return of the Totem Mortal. At this moment, Konoha bathhouse. A group of sweaty female ninjas were happily playing in the misty bath. No one noticed. In the distance, behind the small hole in the wooden fence, a wide-open toad eye is watching the beautiful scenery inside without any restraint. Hey hey hey. Yes, this is really good. That body also very good. Ah. I'm inspired again. My novel has material again. A series of obscene laughter came from the mouth of the white-haired middle-aged man. The red nosebleed and the swaying buttocks are enough proof. How excited I am at this moment. Until a hand suddenly patted his shoulder. Don't make trouble. I'm busy. Jilai also waved his hand and dismissed impatiently. Master Zaraya. Kakashi yelled. Yiting is his disciple and grandson, plus loyal readers. Jiraiya immediately stood up and turned around. Yo. It's Kakashi. Long time no see. How did you find me? I heard that you have returned to the village, so in all likelihood, you should be near the bathhouse. Kakashi spread his hands and responded naturally. Ha ha ha. Indeed, this is the holy place for intimacy and the source of my inspiration. Well, how about my new issue? That's my highest masterpiece. Jilai also wiped away the nosebleed, boasting triumphantly. As soon as he talked about kissing heaven, Kakashi became energetic. Of course. I have read it 10 times, it is indeed a rare treasure. Is the latest issue still out? Don't worry. It will be ready soon, I'm not getting material. Zilai also raised the tip of his nose, looking very useful. Don't look at the way he draws materials is a bit unbearable. But when it comes to literature, he has real talents. Its serialized restricted rated H novel Intimate Paradise is a best-selling book popular in more than 10 countries. There are even some heads of small countries who are his loyal fans. At the same time, he relied on these novels to earn enough manuscript remuneration. It can be regarded as both fame and fortune, rich as hell. Of course, although it seems that one of the legendary Sannin is Jiraiya. Some are careless, sensual, and very out of tune. But in matters of right and wrong and priorities, he has always been very measured. It was only half an hour of collecting materials, until the group of young female ninjas had finished soaking and a new group of ants entered the venue. Jilai also consciously ended the collection. And changed to a tavern, and chatted with Kakashi about business. Master Jiraiya, when did you come back? Just today. The third generation is really true. You sent so many ninjas to look for me everywhere, spread the news, and issued notices offering rewards. I thought something big happened in the village. Zilai also sipped his wine, sighing and laughing. Fortunately, after seeing the news, I immediately rushed back without stopping, thinking that Konoha was going to be wiped out. As for the defection of the Uchiha clan before, he has heard about it. But he didn't care too much. Konoha is also composed of more than a dozen famous ninja sects. Defecting a Uchiha family is nothing. What's more, according to Konoha's bad attitude towards the Uchiha clan, long before, he had expected that something would happen. In fact, he is also tired of the power struggle in the village. In addition, the only 2 close friends left, so he left the village on purpose and embarked on a journey. Don't worry, it's not just for seeking more materials with different styles. What about you? Kakashi, are you still staying in Umbu? Yes. Umbu is not suitable for you, stay in it all the time. You can't get relief. Zilai also persuaded quietly. You know, in the ninja world, there are no psychological counselors, and there is no systematic post-war psychological trauma recovery. All the pain can only be borne by yourself. If you can't bear it, you will collapse, it's that simple. Therefore, devoting yourself to selfless training and busy Umbu missions is nothing more than a way to escape. Kakashi hesitated but didn't refute anything. He also knew that he couldn't go on like this. But many times, the pain in my heart cannot be resolved with a few words. It's okay, you are still young, change slowly. You are Minato's proud disciple, and you will come out sooner or later. By the way, speaking of it, how is that Naruto kid doing recently? Naruto. Kakashi was taken aback for a moment, not knowing how to speak. After all, you can't tell. At this moment, Naruto's family is completely desolate and has no one to rely on. Relying on a small amount of relief funds issued by the third generation, eating expired instant noodles and drinking expired milk every day, let's barely get by. To be honest, Naruto's hard life is worse than the orphans in the orphanage. Kakashi didn't know why the third generation of adults insisted on creating such a difficult environment for Naruto. Even if it is tempering, for a child, it is a bit cruel. Fortunately, still alive. That's good, that's good. Zilai also let out a laugh, and didn't think much about it. In his opinion, with Minato's identity and contribution, the village wouldn't be too embarrassing for such a heroic heir, right? When the time is right, I will teach Naruto myself to see if he is willing to follow his father and become a toad ninja. That's right. Master Jiraiya, this time the village is going to. There's going to be a war, right? You know everything? You can tell at a glance. Zilai also chuckled, anyway, he also grew up in the village and lived for decades. He knows almost everything about the village. When I came back, just through the deployment of defenses outside the village, the mobilization of manpower in the village, and the deployment of materials, I could easily smell a wave of war. The breath of the battle will rise. So? Who are you going to hit? I don't know. But it is speculated that it should be Yenin village. Is it one of the 5 hidden villages? Miss Sarutobi really made a crazy decision. Zilai also sighed. In my impression, as I got older, my equally lustful Sarutobi-sensei became more and more conservative in style. Not very good, just because of an attack, you took the initiative to provoke a battle between day and village? 2 weeks ago, that night, Xuanzhi Xiaoqun also died in the invasion. It is suspected that the Xiao organization that has a close relationship with Yenin village. What? Master Xiaoqun, did you die suddenly too? Jilai was also taken aback. It can be seen that Konoha's news blocking is still very good. At the same time, it's not surprising that Yuan Fei would be so angry. After all, they are life and death comrades in the same period. Just like myself, if Tsunade and Orochimaru were killed, I would definitely retaliate desperately. Although, that guy Orochimaru is basically unlikely to die. What about now? Is the third generation master still in the village? When will the war start? He asked me to come back. He didn't want me to be a pioneer, did he? Kakashi, 2 weeks ago, Master Hokage secretly set off to Sand Hidden Village to seek an alliance. It is estimated that if the alliance goes well, when Hokage-sama returns, it will be the time when the Great War will begin. Hearing this, Zilai also took a sip of wine, feeling a little depressed. Hey! Another war. War will only create more hatred. Kakashi, if you don't fight, the enemy village will only get bigger and bigger. Jilai also blushed, praying in a daze. I know. I just hope that this time the casualties will be less, and it will end sooner. In his opinion. How can it be interesting to watch a female ninja bathe in a bath, inspire inspiration, and write novels? Why can't people in the Quanin world give up the war and just sit down and appreciate their masterpieces? Intimacy is the right way. However, just when the two were talking freely and slightly drunk, an Umbu ninja rushed into the tavern and reported to Jiraiya. Master Jiraiya. Master Hokage has returned, and you are ordered to rush to the Hokage building to discuss matters. Hearing this, Jiraiya and the two were shocked for a moment, shivered, and the drunkenness subsided. The two looked at each other and both understood. This battle is likely to begin soon. Episode 77. Strike, strike. More than 2 weeks have passed since the night the village was attacked. It can be clearly felt. Recently, the atmosphere in Konoha has become more and more tense. Even the pedestrians on the street are becoming less and less. At this time, even the dullest person could sense something was wrong. Such a strict atmosphere is too similar to the vigilance before the war. As a result, many spies placed in Konoha from other hidden villages were also frightened and tried to pass on information. Unfortunately, it's still too late. 2 weeks ago, the third Hokage Sarutobi secretly left Konoha. The entire Konoha activated a first-level early warning, pushing the formation that envelopes the entire village to the extreme. During this period, only in, not out. Put an end to the possibility of all information leaking. This war is no child's play. If you want to fight, you have to surprise, and you will win with one blow. Otherwise, Yanin would have received the news before his family raided there, and had prepared themselves. That will only increase the casualties in vain. In this way, even though these spies and undercover agents lurking in Konoha were already jumping in a hurry, but still helpless, had to sit and wait. That's it. Until this night. That is, the night when the third Hokage Sarutobi returned. The whole Konoha moved. Without the slightest delay, all logistical work was prepared within these 2 weeks. It is enough to see Konoha's determination to go to war this time. Soon, in the darkness of night, a large group of ninjas, divided into 3 groups, rushed out of Konoha. The first batch, led by Sarutobi Hiruzen the third Hokage, went straight to Iwagakushi. There are a total of 800 ninjas, including half of Umbu elites, support staff from major families, and more than half of civilian ninjas. This team is luxuriously equipped, and it is also Konoha's strongest main force. The second batch, led by Jiraiya, one of the famous Sannin, Toad Immortal, a total of 21 people. Except for Jiraiya, the rest are elites drawn from Umbu and commoner ninjas, all of them are ninjas. It can be called a sharp knife team. It's just that the movement is unknown, and the mission is also unclear. The third batch, the Uchiha team led by the Uchiha Patriarch Fuyue, about 50 people, all Uchiha ninjas. The target, Yenin village. In order to hold back the group of rebels in Yenin village during the war. The rest, of course, left a certain amount of self-defense for their own My village. All are under the command of consultant Midaman Yen. At the same time, for the sake of safety, Sarutobi still lifted Danzo's grounding, but he didn't restore his position of assistant Hokage. Only let him lead the rest of the route team to assist Midaman Yen and protect the village. In this regard, Danzo is naturally happy to hear and see. Restoring his leadership of the routes would be enough to get him to do a lot. Although, he was wiped out by the regiment before, almost breaking the root of his spine, and his strength has already been greatly weakened. But a lean camel is better than a horse. Root the background is still there. And the absolute allegiance to Danzo alone is a big advantage. Therefore, as long as you are there, as long as the attack is not a tailed beast. Danzo is also very confident in keeping Konoha. Even, he couldn't help but have a little hope in his heart that he could lead Konoha to win a battle in the war. Greatly increase your reputation. At that time, the position of Hokage will be at your fingertips. Of course, you can only imagine it. This time, all the ninjas in Uchiha's remaining tribe were dispatched. Except for a few ninja who are too young. Those left behind are only some women, children, old and weak. Enough to see the determination of the Uchiha clan. After leaving the village, under the leadership of Fuyue, a group of people rushed towards the north quickly. Not for a while. Itachi quietly accelerated, came to Fuyue's side, and asked in a low voice. Father, will Konoha win this war? Meeting. Fuyu replied without hesitation. Itachi? Fuyu, don't underestimate that old ape from the 3rd generation, he is very shrewd. 2 weeks is enough for him to prepare everything. With Konoha's comprehensive strength, plus sufficient preparations, and a surprise attack. In this war, as early as the beginning, the winners and losers are determined. The only thing to worry about is the size of the loss. As Fuyu, who also experienced the 2nd and 3rd Ninja World Wars, he is too aware of Sarutobi's strength and strategy. Even now that Sarutobi is old and his combat power has declined, he is definitely worthy of the title of Ninjutsu Professor. If he personally leads the team to attack, the chances of winning are definitely not small. Then, are we really going to fight Yenin village to the death? Itachi, have you channeled the power of God, Susanoo? Itachi paused and nodded. Stimulated by the big battle a month ago, he also devoted himself to the development of Kaleidoscopic Sharingan during this time. Just a few days ago, I finally channeled the 3rd power and successfully opened Susanoo. However, because it is not skilled enough, it can only temporarily use the initial form stably, and it is difficult to maintain the complete 2nd form of the skeleton. Fuyu, then what do you think, can you beat that kid Natsume? Itachi shook his head. Fuyu, then you and I join forces, is there any chance of winning? Itachi was silent for a moment, as if weighing. If you work hard, you have a chance. However, we are also likely to die. Fuyu, that's right. That kid's strength is indeed amazing. It's just that your guess is based on a month ago, right? With that kid's monstrous talent, now, I'm afraid his strength has risen a lot. Do you think our chances of winning are still high? Itachi. Then we don't fight anymore? But, those two people behind. Itachi glanced back at the back of the line. There were also two Umbu ninjas wearing masks. They were sent by Konoha's senior management to monitor the Uchiha clan. If in the follow-up battle, one's own side and others show passive idleness, deliberately procrastinating, and so on, they will report back to Konoha and punish the Uchiha people in the village. To put it bluntly, they were two warlords. With these two people around, it's hard for them to pretend to be passive and idle. Fuyu shook his head, not paying attention to the two people behind him. Fight, it must be fought. It's just that it's not necessarily the other side. Thinking about it, your Natsume cousin is not unprepared. For details, let's wait until Rinnegan village to see. Don't worry, I will never abandon Sasuke and your mother. Hearing this, Itachi felt relieved. Apparently, what he was most worried about was that his father, regardless of everything else, immediately followed Rinnegan village to join him. As a result, the mother and younger brother Sasuke who stayed in Konoha were put in danger. Now, after getting his father's promise, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. As for that Natsume cousin, you should be able to see it soon. I hope this time, he can bring more surprises to himself and his family. Episode 78. The first arrival at Rinnegan, outrageous rebellion. The reason why Konoha chose to attack at night was to quietly avoid the spies from various villages scattered around Konoha. Although, before that, Umbu has already done it again and again, cleaning up batch after batch of spies outside the village. However, there is no guarantee that there will be no luck left. But only through the night. Bypass those spies and rush all the way to the destination. Arrive before those spies send the news back to Rinnegan village, then the attack will still not be exposed. If you take the lead, you are still on your side. In the same way, Fuyu and Itachi's side. After leaving the village, he was also urged by the two dark warlords. He also accelerated all the way and hurried towards Fire Country, to the north of Fire Country. Because Tian Country is not too far away from Konoha. In addition, everyone galloped all the way. It only took less than a day. Then at dusk the next day, they rushed to the territory of Tianjigua and continued to move towards Rinnegan village. And as it gets closer and closer to Rinnegan village, the mood of these Uchiha ninjas became more and more complicated. How can you say that it is the new ninja village established after the family members risked their lives and defected out? Your acquaintances, your friends, even your self-crush. They are all living there peacefully. But now I and others are going to destroy it with my own hands, bringing pain and disaster to them. As members of the Uchiha tribe, how could they not tremble in their hearts and be in a dilemma? But, it's okay not to fight. My own family and children are also hostages in Konoha. If they are not cruel at this moment, death may come to their own family members. At the same time, he looked at the painful expressions of the clansmen behind him. Fuyu, who was leading the team at the front, couldn't help but feel sore in his heart and couldn't bear it. After all, Uchiha will come to this point. In addition to the difficulties and hostility of the high-level Konoha. As the patriarch himself, there are also many reasons. If only he could be ruthless earlier, coup d'état earlier, or if he planned other ways out earlier. The clansmen don't have to suffer such inner suffering. It's no use regretting now. Let's think about how to deal with the next difficulty. Fuyu sighed in his heart. At this moment, their entire team is already very close to Rinnegan village. The straight line distance is estimated to be no more than a kilometer. Even, you can see it from a distance, and there are fireworks in the distance. Obviously, Rinnegan village is over there, and many people are cooking dinner. Everyone, keep silent. Disperse the formation first, and follow my instructions. The experienced patriarch, Fuyu, immediately stopped the team, prepared to adjust the formation, and approached slowly. To be honest, he doesn't know the attitude of Rinnegan village and that boy Natsume. In case of going up recklessly, they will kill relatives righteously. If he cut off all the clansmen behind him with a single knife, then he would be about to cry without tears. There is no way to explain it to the rest of the village. Therefore, he must be careful. However, Fuyue is not bad. Compared with his cautiousness, the last two Umbu ninja warlords in the team. At this moment, I was so nervous that I was almost trembling, and my palms were constantly sweating. No idea. They were also there the night Natsume and the others defected. They have all seen the explosive scene of the two Susanoo demon gods fighting each other with their own eyes. After a while it really started fighting. That Natsume brat might show mercy to other Uchiha tribesmen, but he would definitely not show mercy to the two outsiders. With their small bodies, I'm afraid they can't even withstand Susanoo's punch. There is no doubt that he must die. Can they not be afraid? As a result, both of them began to think about whether to find a place to hide first. It's a pity that they didn't wait for the two to make up their minds. Abnormal protrusion. In the jungle in the distance, several figures suddenly flashed, directly blocking the way forward of the entire team. Naturally, these 5 figures are Uchiha Natsume. And 4 of Natsume's personal guards. Hey! Uncle Fuyue, long time no see. Natsume happily greeted him, apparently he had been waiting here for a long time. You kid, did you know we were coming? Fuyu was slightly startled. After leaving the village, they came all the way without stopping. It stands to reason that even if it is discovered, there will be no spies to pass the information back first, right? Of course, I'll know as soon as you leave. Natsume smiled calmly. In any case, he single-handedly intensified and provoked this battle. How could he not know about Konoha's movements? At the same time, Natsume nodded and smiled at Itachi beside Fugaku while talking. Last time, if it wasn't for the active informant of this big dutiful son. I'm afraid I can't eat up those rude elites so easily and happily, let alone promote the outbreak of this war logically. This cousin is indeed outstanding. It's a pity that his head is not working well, and his dear Odouru is all he can think of. On the other hand, Itachi at the side felt his scalp tingle and felt uncomfortable being stared at by his cousin. Good boy. So, everything is in your calculation? Fuyu sighed, feeling more and more old. More or less. Then you. Fuyu wanted to continue asking something. But at this moment, the last 2 Umbu ninjas in the team had no choice but to bite the bullet and reminded. Patriarch Fuyue, please pay attention to your words and deeds, and don't talk too much with Rinnegan. The 2 of them are also very afraid, and they will continue to talk like this. The 2 sides have chatted about their feelings, and I'm afraid there is no need to fight this battle. Are you teaching me how to do things? Evil-eyed Fuyue turned his head and shouted angrily, which was very frightening. The 2 Umbu ninjas were so frightened that they quickly shook their heads and backed away, not daring to say any more nonsense. Joke. At this moment, the 3 circles here and the 3 circles outside are all from the Uchiha clan. If he really annoys this Uchiha patriarch, they will definitely die today. Seeing that the 2 were subdued, Fuyu turned to look at Natsume and continued to chat. Natsume, do you want to start the fight? No hurry. Can you tell me, how did you know it in advance? Fuyu deliberately delayed. Anyway, it can be delayed for a while. It might as well give Natsume more time to prepare. Or, give yourself a little more hesitation time for the final decision. Well, it's very simple. Natsume chuckled, then waved his right hand. A shot of kunai pierced through the air, aiming at Fuyue in the distance. Immediately, all the Uchiha ninjas in the rear changed their faces in fright, thinking that a fight was about to start. Yes, next moment. With a grasp of Fuyue's left hand, he easily pinched the vigorous kunai, and waved his hand to stop the people behind him. However, he was a little confused. Natsume, why did he suddenly throw a handful of kunai towards him? Is there anything special about this Dunna? Until, his eye sweep. Only then did he suddenly discover that this suffering is supreme, and this complicated and familiar mark is actually engraved on it. 1. The mark that his good friend Minato used to be best at using. This is. Yuyu's heart was shocked suddenly, and he exclaimed. But don't wait for him to finish. In a blink of an eye, a figure suddenly appeared, very close to him. Natsume grabbed the kunai handle and pulled it back. How? Uncle Fuyue, do you understand now? And raised the kunai in his hand, showing a little bit of meaning. Seeing this, Fuyu's eyes flashed, and he understood everything in an instant. This time, he finally knew why this kid Natsume was so reckless. It turns out that there are already countermeasures. At the same time, this time, he finally knew. How should I choose? Calling D.D. Fuyu took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and exhaled the foul breath hard. Next second. Fuyu suddenly opened his eyes. The Kaleidoscope Sharingan, which symbolizes everything in everything, suddenly appeared. At the same time, the whistling pupil power and chakra poured out. In an instant, a tall Susanoo was formed. It's just that this Susan is not used to deal with Natsume. But when no one expected it, Fuyue controlled Susan, turned around and punched. He hammered directly at the two Umbu ninjas, smashing them into meatloaf in an instant. Episode 79. Can't you be reticent? This sudden shocking change really shocked everyone. No one knew why the patriarch, who had always been indecisive, suddenly became hardened. But it's still the hard one. Without saying a word, he rebelled directly. The two Umbu ninjas who were sent to monitor were hammered to death on the spot. Leave no room for it. It can be regarded as dumbfounded by the rest of the tribe. Even the attaché next to him was taken aback. I don't understand why my father's attitude suddenly changed so completely. He even didn't hesitate to kill the two Umbu ninjas directly as a voting certificate. Father, are you planning to break up with Konoha? Didn't he say yes? Would he worry about being with Konoha's mother and younger brother? Raise Susanoo's fists. After confirming that both of them were dead, Fuyu stopped. To be honest, compared to his friend Minato, compared to his determination to sacrifice for Konoha, Fuyu knew that he was not a good patriarch. However, if you can't be a good patriarch, you can at least be a good father. It is also because he has always been concerned about his family, the safety of Makoto and Sasuke. This made Fuyue restrain his elbows everywhere, appearing quite passive. And now, when he found out, this kid Natsume has actually mastered the Flying Thunder God technique. All his worries disappeared in an instant. No one knows better than him the terrifying effect of this S-rank ninjutsu. Although it is not as powerful as those offensive forbidden techniques. But it is definitely the most flexible, most practical, and also the most difficult S-rank ninjutsu to learn. With the Flying Thunder God technique, it can be regarded as almost invincible. You can attack from close, you can chase from far, you can escape from defeat. Back then, Minato relied on the prestige of the Yellow Flash to overwhelm the entire ninja world and become the best in the world. It's a pity that the Watergate left too early. Otherwise, let alone the Uchiha clan, I am afraid that the entire Konoha will never be rebellious again. It's no wonder that Natsume knows Konoha's actions like the back of his hand. I'm afraid, relying on this ninjutsu long ago, he hid in Konoha the whole time, leisurely monitoring Konoha's movements. From now on, under the threat of this kid's speed, I'm afraid the whole ninja world will have to tremble for decades, right? Fuyue didn't worry about where Natsume learned this ninjutsu. That's not important. The important thing is, this kid has really mastered it. The most important thing is that after possessing the Flying Thunder God technique, there is no need to worry about how to rescue the remaining clansmen who are still imprisoned in the village. Just swipe past. It's enough to bring someone out with a snap. Because of this, Fuyu, who no longer worries about how to save his family and clansmen, is naturally extraordinarily tough. This is so stupid. He has long been displeased with Konoha, let alone bear it. Only then did he brazenly rebel and directly beat the two Umbu ninjas to death, so he had the right to express his opinion. Now, if he hesitates again, he will be really stupid. Calling D.D. Fuyue put away Susanoo and Kaleidoscopic Sharingan and looked back at Natsume. Uncle Fuyue, welcome to join. Natsume greeted him cheerfully. One big and one small, the two looked at each other, knowing each other. You're still the best kid. This surprise can scare people. Fuyu sighed. Originally, after Minato, he thought that no one would be able to learn the Flying Thunder God art. But when he saw it today, he was really taken aback. Fortunately, it's just an S-level ninjutsu. Natsume smiled casually, pretending to be forceful. As for Uncle Fuyue's change of attitude, Natsume was no exception. After all, before today came, he had made sufficient preparations. This, Flying Thunder God art, is just the first performance. If Fuyu is still unwilling to abandon the dark and turn to the bright. Next, your Tail Beast, Eternal Kaleidoscope, Sharingan, Fairy Body, and so on. We'll let him experience it. What is despair? What is absolute strength? Guaranteed that Fuyu and the Uchiha ninjas all honestly gave up resistance and voluntarily surrendered. It's just that I didn't expect it. Fuyu is so sensible. He voted without saying a word, and even prepared the voting certificate. Can't you hold back? Do you want to reflect the integrity of being the former patriarch? Forget it. However, it is also a good thing to be able to subdue so many clansmen without bloodshed. After all, my Yenin village is really short of people now. Natsume has long been looking forward to the stars and the moon, injecting new blood into Insuin. If Konoha started the war a little later, Natsume would be ready to go grab people directly. Of course, even if Fuyu abandoned the dark and turned to the bright, it is impossible for him to retain his position as the great patriarch. After joining Yenin village, in the future, at most he will be a nominal elder or something, and use it to guard the village. Real power is definitely not there. Anyway, Natsume will not be so stupid, like Konoha. Take the initiative to decentralize power, take the initiative to create a route for yourself to add to the blockage. As for the weasel, it has other great uses. Xia, cousin Natsume. Yo, Erwa boy, hello. Itachi? Natsume, it's okay, I haven't seen you for a long time. Brother Itachi, sister Quan misses you very much. Quan, is she okay? Pretty good. Itachi breathed a sigh of relief, looked at kunai in Natsume's hands, and guessed thoughtfully. What were you just now, space-time ninjutsu? Yes. Flying Thunder God art, you should know about it? I know. You actually learned it? Itachi's heart was shocked, and he was even more astonished. As an Anbu ninja, how could he not have heard of the famous name of this S-rank ninjutsu? Back then, even Captain Kakashi, who led him, was full of praise for this ninjutsu and was fascinated. However, as a disciple of the fourth generation of Minato, Kakashi, who has outstanding talent and became a jonin at the age of 12, failed to learn this ninjutsu. It is enough to see that the difficulty of its study is high. Natsume-kun, what the hell are you? Natsume waved his hand, interrupting Itachi's questioning. Let's talk about it later. Now Uncle Fuyue and I, go back and save people first. Tung, Rieo. Take these clansmen back to the village first. Yes. Several people on Rieo stepped forward and responded in unison, full of momentum. As the guards of the young patriarch, they don't want to lose the prestige of their own Yenin village in front of these new tribesmen. At the same time, when I heard that Natsume and his father were going back to save their younger brother and the others, Itachi was also instantly excited, and hurriedly said, I'll go as well. Cousin, you stay here and take care of everyone for me. Natsume exhorted. After all, if he really brought this younger brother back to save people, there might be something wrong. What's more, Natsume is still not sure whether Itachi gave up on Konoha. Hearing this, Itachi hesitated for a moment, then looked at his father again. In the end, it was not forced. Attention, be safe. If anyone makes trouble in our Yenin village, don't blame me for disregarding the feelings of the same clan. Immediately, Natsume swept across the group of Uchiha ninjas with a sharp expression, and warned unceremoniously. Although most Uchiha people hate Konoha. But among these tribesmen who refused to defect with him before, maybe there are still a few ninjas with Konoha in their hearts. Be forewarned. If there are people who really don't know how to live or die in the future, at that time, Natsume will naturally be able to ruthlessly kill the killer and kill the chicken to scare the monkey. Be honest and obey orders. We're going back to save all the rest of the tribe, including your family members. Don't make any more trouble for me. Fuyu also roared in response, warning in a deep voice. Yes. The rest of the Uchiha ninjas looked at each other in blank dismay, and quickly agreed. Okay, let's go. Walk. After finishing speaking, Natsume took Fuyue with him, and instantly activated the Flying Thunder God art. Disappeared in place, and flashed back to Konoha. After all, at this moment the Konoha army is moving out. It was the time when the village was at its weakest, and it happened to bring out the remaining clansmen together. Of course, if this time there are also clansmen who are ignorant and unwilling to leave, Natsume could only let them fend for themselves. Episode 80. Incentives and Confidence. Looking at the entire ninja world, unless one's personal power has reached its peak, it is enough for one person to rival tens of thousands of troops. In normal times, war is still a cruel game of intelligence, numbers, and strategy. After all, it was better than the second-generation Hokage Senju Feijian, who still died under the besieging of Yunin village. Although, there are various coincidences in it. But it is enough to show the importance of war strategy. After all, as long as they cooperate properly, there is still a chance for more than a dozen elite genin who want to surround and kill an ordinary Kage-level powerhouse. What's more, the war between Dain village is definitely not a simple do easy. Otherwise, the two families directly compare the number and level of ninjas, and whoever is less will admit defeat. Then there is no need to spank. So this time, Sarutobi personally led the team to attack and mustered all his horsepower. Nearly 1,000 Konoha ninjas rushed all the way, day and night, even using chakra. I just want to reach Rinnegan village as quickly as possible. To hit the opponent by surprise. Even, he did not hesitate to equip each ninja with Bingliang pills to restore the chakra consumed during the journey. Add-on Siso. From Konoha to Rinnegan village, the original journey of nearly 3 days was shortened by them to less than 2 days. Just before the dusk of the 3rd day, they rushed into Earth Country and came out of Rinnegan village. Who D. The aged Sarutobi was obviously struggling after such a long and exhausting journey. While he stopped the team, he was panting and resting. All rest in place. Enchanting class, set up a hidden enchantment. Scout team, spread out to scout the enemy sentries. After half an hour, launch a strong attack. Sarutobi arranged his way in an orderly manner. As an experienced old ninja, although he has many shortcomings. But for marching and fighting, it is really good. If it wasn't for being beaten by Edo Orochimaru later, he died prematurely. Konoha will not push a generation of gamblers to the position of Hokage. Master Hokage, eat something. Kakashi leaned forward and handed over some dry food. Obviously, Sarutobi, who is old and has poor digestion ability, is not suitable for eating too many Bingliang pills. If you really eat bad stomach. If you have diarrhea before the battle, then there is no need to fight this battle. Kakashi. Do you think it's right to start this war? Sarutobi asked with a slight sigh while chewing dry food. As his own great-grandson, the 3rd generation still trusts Kakashi very much. What's more, the Hatake family, who have been loyal for generations, can be regarded as a famous ninja family in the village. Of course, he wasn't really questioning his decision either. It's just that before the big battle, I want to chat with someone I trust. The older you get, the more empty you will be in your heart. Master Hokage, we have no way out. Kakashi replied truthfully. Along the way, although many spies from Rinnegan village were killed along the way. But there are 100% omissions. Therefore, even at this moment Konoha retreats. After those spies go back, Rinnegan village will still know about Konoha's action. At that time, it may be Rinnegan's second attack to greet Konoha. That would only be more passive. Anyway, in Kakashi's view, Konoha has no way out at this moment. Only to attack, only to hurt Rinnegan. After the opponent has no resistance. In order to succeed and retire. That's right. We have no way out. Sarutobi nodded and became a little more determined in his heart. By the way, Hokage-sama. Sand Hidden, is it really reliable? Kakashi asked. The night before, Sarutobi had just returned to the village. He knew the news that Sand Hidden Village decided to form an alliance with Konoha. However, he also knows it well. His father, Hatake-san, killed Scorpio's parents during the Second Ninja World War. The hatred between the two parties has been accumulating for a long time, so it should be very difficult to resolve, right? Don't worry. Right now, Sand Hidden Village may hope to win more than us. Sarutobi calmly comforted him. He secretly went to Sand Hidden Village to seek an alliance. In the beginning, it was really a mess. Many elders of Yanyanshu, headed by Chiyo, kept opposing it. But in the end, when Sarutobi sacrificed his whole card, that 4th Kazekage immediately changed his mind, directly pressured the whole village, and agreed to form an alliance. And that whole card is also very simple. Sarutobi directly and cruelly promised, after this war, half of the war profits will be distributed to Sand Hidden Village, and an additional 50 million taels of subsidy will be paid to Sand Hidden Village. Such a large amount of lore for Sha'in Village, which is located in the desert and is so poor, is undoubtedly a nectar from heaven. Moreover, Konoha's request is not too much. It is only necessary for Sand Hidden Village to support Konoha in the subsequent battle. If Cool Hidden Village is invaded, just help to defend it. There is no need for Sand Hidden Village to send troops to participate in the battle against Yen Hidden Village. You can sit at home and earn tens of millions, or even hundreds of millions of taels. Isn't it wonderful? Sand Hidden Village, there is no reason to refuse at all. Naturally, he readily agreed. And hear this. Kakashi also clicked his tongue, and couldn't help but marvel at Sarutobi's gamble. You know, it was stolen due to the repeated flipping of the Konoha vault. Now the remaining reserve fund is only 50 to 60 million. Moreover, it took more than half to appease the protesting villagers and prepare for this big battle. Now that there is still money, pay Sand Hidden Village a huge sum of 50 million yuan? Tax increase? Looking for borrowing from various ninja clans? No matter how you choose, it will only make it more difficult for Konoha, who is already struggling. Master Hokage, can the village afford it? Sarutobi shook his head. Then we. Don't worry. The money is over there, waiting for us to get it. Yuan Fei looked up and looked in the direction of Yanning village. From the beginning, he had no intention of earning the money of his poor ninjas. After finally taking the initiative to provoke a big war, what he wants to earn is naturally Yanning village money. In this way, it can not only make up for the loss of their own treasury, but also pay compensation to Hidden Sand Village. This is the reason why he personally led the team to attack. It is also the reason why he dared to make a big bet to lure Sha'in Village into an alliance. Okay, it's almost time to rest. Get ready to do it. If you drag it on, we might be exposed. All, attack. Sarutobi patted the dust off his body, stood up, took off the Hokage hat on his head, and tied his wrist guards tightly. Pointing at Yannin, cold voice ordered. In the next moment, countless Konoha ninjas swarmed out and charged at Yannin village.